Many curiosities to make the time to fly. No, draw the story man to ask me is in vain. Whoever goes up that winding stair may never come down again. Oh me, oh my, won't you come into a party? Said young Pennington to God. Said young Pennington to God, dear friend, whatever can I do to attest the warm affection that I've always felt for you? No, draw the story man to the poet's deep dismay. For I've heard about our parlor games and I do not wish to play. Oh me, oh my, won't you come to our parlor? Said young Pennington to God. But we had within our parlor many stories to relate, many guests extraordinary. Please give up the silly
Dear Parlour Games, I am writing in protest because I hear you failures are making a feature film. Oh, I can only imagine the spectacle. First of all, I imagine you failures resorting to that all-purpose tired trope of having the theme song that gets itself repeatedly flubbed, very clever in terms of endearing yourself to your audience, except that your audience is onto you. Plus, how can you failures even dream of a feature film when your little song and dance show takes place in a parlor, as in one room, as in not epic, as in not cinematic, as in using a DV camera, so definitely not an actual movie, even technically, you failures. Sincerely, Rick Brown.
Okay, welcome back to the Parlour Games movie, and now it is time for Poetry Hatch.
Transmission. I like watching TV static, she said once, handing me a drink that smelled of Glastonbury and tasted like old ice cream. There is a phrase for it in Swedish, Mörnes Krig, which means the War of the Ants. Like an advert recorded by accident at the beginning of an old Memorex VHS cassette, the image is there, but the reasons are missing. She meant, I guess, that we all need to search for meaning in things, even if we only find fragments, splinters, pixels, or thousands of black and white dots fighting over nothing.
If you were in Los Angeles and you typed in 104.4 FM to your radio dial,
Or you dialed it 104.4.
I haven't been in Los Angeles for a while, so I'm not sure what you would be listening to. You might be between stations.
Okay.
You might be listening to static, or you might be listening to...
But there is something sort of artistic about static radio that could be considered similar to either Parlour Games or to another show that might be on Resonance FM.
Yeah, because Resonance does those shows that are sort of pure static.
Yeah.
Do you listen to static? Like,
sometimes. I met a girl once who loved listening to static, and she used to watch the static you get on television as well. But maybe we can show some.
Oh, you wrote that poem about her.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Do you know that poem off the top of your head?
I don't, but maybe we can come back to that later on.
What were you going to say? We can show
What TV static looks like, because it's a thing. It's going to be an interesting point, actually. Will you get TV static in a digital era?
Oh, well, maybe, but maybe you would also get, maybe instead of static, static will transmogrify, and static will evolve into, you know, how when the digital thing stops, like it's hit like a DVD hits a rough spot, and it sort of goes all squarey. And like there's all squares for a second, then it keeps going, or it stops altogether, and you're like,
But do you think literature will change in that way? I mean, if you think, I always imagine that literature's been inspired by technological development throughout history. So if you imagine that some poems or books have got TV static or static in them, will the digital era therefore change that notion of static in poetry?
I don't know. You would imagine that they would, well, like you have e-books now, right? So perhaps it will, I'm not sure, you would have the poem on an e-book then, and you would, the static would be there, but it would be something else. It would be static relating to the, you know, whatever composes a digital thing, a nanobyte or a megabyte or a binary code or the 00001111111000, you know.
So it could just be a list of binary numbers.
Yeah.
And now, on the Parlour Games, the movie, it is time for Story Hatch.
Fetterman had been trying to give the same plastic carrier bag away to the last 10 customers. Everyone came up with only 1 or 2 items they could easily carry without a bag, and so didn't want the bag. "They're bent on preserving the natural world," murmured Fetterman. The bag developed 1,000,000 lunar wrinkles as it waited to be used and was crumpled by Fetterman's frustrated right hand. Pretty soon it would become undesirable as a bag, but he couldn't just throw it out. That would be wasteful. He might even have to take the bag home his own self. "One of these bastards in the line better want the goddamn carrier bag," he murmured. An old woman arrived with nothing but a pile of cans of beans, and Fetterman broke into smiles. He deserved a break, after all, because it gnawed always at Fetterman that one of his great-great-great-grandfathers had been justly killed by Indians. "Native Americans," Fetterman corrected himself. "But he deserved it for sure," Fetterman reminded himself. "Yeah, in fact, asked for it." Fetterman thought, maybe genealogy is too involving a hobby for me. "Could I have a paper bag? Thank you," said the old woman. The end.